Hey everybody, welcome back to VMS Esoteric, our long-running series, the Unported Playlist, where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time, and today we're taking a look at Let's Go Jungle, Lost on the Island of Spice. And I will say right now, this game might be bright, it might be cheery, but it scares the absolutely ever-loving hell out of me, and I'll explain that in just a moment. Before we get too far involved, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the reason that I absolutely love and hate this game and it scares me is I have no place in my life for spiders. I do not like them, they give me the creeps, and I don't like playing games that involve them, especially when they're the size of cows and they're running straight towards the screen. If you make this game in VR, there is no way in hell I am playing it. It's just not happening. I remember Farpoint for PlayStation VR. I bought that game, didn't realize it had spiders in it, and never finished it. So this is definitely a horror game, even if it's bright and cheery. If you disagree, you can leave me a comment down below and tell me what it is that you're most afraid of. Because for me, it is 100% man-sized spiders that are trying to kill me. But outside of the spider topic, if you know anything about the channel and you've been watching for a while, you know I love Sega arcade games, and you know I love lightgun games, therefore I'm absolutely going to love Let's Go Jungle. And that is 100% the truth. Now I am playing this on TechnoParrot, and you're going to see some jank here and there. Some of the audio is going to do a little bit of clipping, and some of the effects on water are going to be completely missing. That is because all of the drivers and all the development for these boards, which were just PCs in a box, targeted a very specific hardware set, a certain CPU, a certain GPU, and a certain version of something like DirectX. So while you can 100% play it on your PC, sometimes it'll be weird, but I love that they use where your cursor is on screen to give you some ability to drive the car, because technically this isn't a light gun game, it's an XY potentiometer game, basically an analog controller set up so that it feels like you're shooting a gun, but you're just moving a gigantic analog stick with a few triggers. And that's been something they've been doing since the 90s, even in the 80s for arcade games. But again, it's just an absolute blast. This is Sega firing on all cylinders, and it reminds me a lot of the Ocean Hunter on the Sega Model 3. And if you thought that spider before was scary, this one makes me feel even more uncomfortable. I don't even like watching the footage. It's been a phobia since I've been a child, and it remains. You'll see that you have to tap the start button to be able to escape, and if you haven't watched my video on Rambo, check out the playlist, because this is a mechanic Sega loved using in this era, having to rapidly tap on the start button to escape something. And I just recently played the new Mission Impossible light gun game, and they are still using that mechanic to this day. Sega kind of pivoted to that in the mid-2000s, and they've been doing it ever since. But honestly, shooting the spider makes me happy because I get to shoot the spider, but that thing is massive and it's coming right for us. This game is definitely tongue-in-cheek hokey and it's always supposed to be funny with all the faces, and it does a good job of that. But I love how they've gone beyond the light gun genre and put these little quick time events in. Kind of feels like Shenmue, except in a car. Push the start button at the right time and you clear that jump. Miss it and something else completely different happens, and you do get ranked on it from C to B to A to the S tier. Of course, it's a Japanese game. S tier is always going to be the top, but we made it through Jungle Safari, and we get to move on to the next stage, shooting all these leeches here. These don't bother me whatsoever. No other bug except the spider. But like I said, those things, even more terrifying than the first spider. I do not like them jumping at the screen. It is just not something I enjoy, and I don't usually talk about my personal life too much on the channel, but now that you know, if you ever meet me in real life and you want to get to me, spiders are 100% the way to go to do it. But even with the spiders, I still really do love playing this game. Now, fair word of warning, you may have to cap your frame rate with something like RevoTuner to 60 frames per second, because this is definitely designed to run on a much slower GPU than you probably have in your system, and sometimes the game will just run at like 4 to 8x speed. I ran this on a 3090 Ti and I was getting like 400 frames a second in super fast motion. And you will see that we're missing some textures here. But this section of the game has a really good soundtrack, so go ahead and listen for like 45 seconds and I'll come back and talk more about spiders. But enjoy. It's a fun soundtrack and it has some fun voice acting, but I love the limitation this game gives on you sometimes. We lost our guns in that waterfall accident, and now we have an ore, and we have to slap tree frogs with said ore. I don't know where they came up with the mechanic, but it's absolutely hilarious. Just going full Babe Ruth on a tree frog with an ore, just smack them out of the way. And I love that they use classic Kung Fu ninja technique too, which is to say that they wait their turn to attack, and you get an absolutely massive frog as the boss battle. Now it is slightly a bummer that this game is missing some textures, and I tried a few different fixes, none of which seem to do the job properly. It is just one of those things, like I said earlier, when they make these games they target a certain set of hardware, and in a lot of instances you can't just pop a different GPU or processor in the arcade board because it is looking for very specific drivers and very specific hardware. So the fact that this runs and runs well is great. We get a little Jaws reference here as well. The frog doesn't actually open up the canister with his mouth, but we do get to shoot it, and all this green goo goes all over everybody. And that's the thing, this game is just a ton of fun. In an original cabinet you could sit down in, it was basically almost like an amusement ride. And you lose a little bit of that obviously playing it at home on your PC, but this is not a cabinet I've seen in some years, so honestly, depending on where you live, this may be the only way for you to actually get a chance to play this game, and I highly recommend it. You even got these grasshoppers here that we have to shoot, and the game loves giving you a trail of different things to have to shoot, and trying to make sure that you get your crosshairs right on it so you can take them all out. Half an inch to the left or the right and you're going to take damage, but I will say that this game is relatively fair, and sometimes you just see things you never see again. One hill here, you have these pill bugs that you need to shoot the shell off of, and I have not seen them anywhere in the game, so it's kind of fun that they design specific enemies just for one environment like a hill. And you even get fun cutscenes like this. You need to sneak away from the spider so you don't have to fight him right now, and honestly, one less spider fight's going to be okay for me. And each time you have to hit that start button, those timers keep going faster and faster, but if you are on top of your game, you can bypass that section right there and get over to the piranhas. And I like that it's just one more little fun mechanic. Like, you get to this elephant here, and he's got some sort of, looks like a cockroach or maybe even a gigantic flea on him, and of course the kid is telling you do not shoot because you're going to hit the elephant. So you have to rapidly tap the start button to be able to pistol whip those fleas off. And how often you get to say pistol whip a flea? Probably the first time in my life I've ever said that sentence. And what is our reward? A ride on the back of an elephant who swings his trunk and just absolutely obliterates spiders. I've always liked elephants, and I like them a little bit more now. But you can just bonk your head on that little piece of wood there and end up having to use a continue. It's fine. Doesn't really matter, but I always think it's funny when you just slightly bump into something in game and that's enough to cause you to take damage. But you'll see here, the kid sees something that he doesn't like, and that spider is back. It's been chasing us throughout the entire game. Now it's covered in these weird mushrooms. It's got a fungal infection that's kind of turning it into a zombie. So it's a zombie spider, which means that this game is definitely The Last of Us 0.5. It is a prequel game. You just didn't realize it. Maybe the designers from Naughty Dog played this game and decided, cordyceps infecting things, that could be fun for gameplay. And honestly, that is a complete joke, but you never know where inspiration comes from. Sometimes it comes from the strangest places. Although The Last of Us did not have any spiders, and I definitely give it an A+ for that. Honestly, it's a great game, but that's just not the game we were talking about. But we managed to finally shoot him off of a cliff, and we can move on with our elephant ride right here with some missing water texture in the background. And it always seems like if an arcade game on TechnoParrot is going to be missing textures, it seems to always be in the water area. I don't know what that is. It must be a certain graphical effect or call on that era of GPUs that has changed since then. But they discovered that this eco group has been using this pesticide on the island, and that's causing mushrooms to grow. And then who is back again? He's got to do it one last time, jumping right into my face, the spider here, but we finally get to put him down for the last time. But of course that's not going to be the end of the game, because he falls on a plant and we get some little Shop of Horrors fun here. Kind of feels like a boss from Resident Evil. But that's the great thing about this game. It's constantly showing you something new. It's constantly giving you new enemies. It's constantly giving you fun things to shoot at. And the boss fights definitely get harder as you go on. And there are branching pathways in the game as well. I'm just showing you one here. But Sega was the king of arcade light gun games. I mean, it's the company that developed the House of the Dead, the most iconic and one of my favorite light gun games of all time. And I love that this is a very bright, colorful version of a horror light gun game for arcades, and there's other games in this series as well that I will probably talk about on the channel moving forward. But leave me a comment down below and tell me if that's something you want to see, because I'm always doing light gun games and the performance is always decent, but I can definitely tell it's my favorite genre, but not the viewership's favorite genre. I would say arcade racing games and beat 'em ups are what you like to see the best. But I do like that we get one more Jaws moment. Again, the plant's not going to bite that barrel, unfortunately, but it's going to get close enough to it to explode. And you're going to notice that as this plant goes down, something else happens, because we're not done here. The game makes you think it's going to be the end, but we have a little bit more to go. But we have saved this island, and the helicopters coming in to rescue us has a little bit of a Jurassic Park vibe as well, and that game on Model 3 was spectacular. I did a video on it years ago, and I'm definitely going to revisit it one day. But these butterflies land on that mask, and that mask did have the chemical from everything that went badly. So what do you think is going to happen on our helicopter ride away from the island? Of course, a gigantic final boss is going to appear, and it might be the only time that a gigantic butterfly was ever the final boss in an arcade game. But again, I don't know everything, so if you know about it, leave me that comment down below. It is unfortunate that it's supposed to be over water and we just get this big black expanse down there. But that's what you get for trying to emulate modern arcade games on a Windows PC. You just get some jank sometimes. But short of that, it's an awesome game. If you've never played it, I can't recommend it enough. I'll have more imported next week and videos throughout the week as well. But yeah, that's the game. Shoot a butterfly and go home. See you next time. Bye bye.